Hey, welcome again to the side corner. It's your host Mamun, and I will talk today about um, how to navigate situations where you just don't have that much control to be put, and sometimes you just don't have that much control, and you focus too much on the outcomes that doesn't make any sense. And we all get into those situations where we desire something that we don't have any access to. We fear to choose anything after that, and it makes a lot of mark trust issues, and sometimes seeing everyone in the same lens. It sometimes also feels that might be that's the end, there's nothing else after it, and maybe that's not meant for me at all. There's a lot of questions, self-doubt, and also a different kind of parallel thinking that creates confusions with our reality and fantasy, and makes us literally like stuck in the situation itself. The health deteriorates, your mind becomes scattered, you lose people, um, you face the reality of life, and you find it that you are the only one who were been like left to be to be the solver of the problems that's been created by not only you but also by the people around you. Many people will just suggest you to be lonely, and to learn how to be lonely, and to be happy with what you have and what you can just achieve by yourself. And there's a lot of theories, a lot of things that you have to learn to just kind of mitigate the damage that happened to your body, especially the brain cells. Today, in this age, we live in a society where physical interactions are literally for something that's too important or not that much important. We hardly meet each one, we hardly see at each one's eyes. Everything that we see mostly on the screens are short form videos, infinite scrolls. We just don't even know like what's happening beside our 2 inch scar area wherever you just don't give that much noticeability around yourself. Observing power has gone to decline. I was just seeing an article where there was a interview, and one of the questions that's been arised was the um, worst invention that ever happened in this decade, and they was saying the short form videos because it's rotting people's brain. How like less knowledge with compact visual uh, dopamine induced movements to just catch you on the guard and just make you hooked to scroll infinitely is way out of control, and it could be seen like in people how they think right now. And we made a little bit of problems here and there in controlling those things that's needed to be in the society. If we were in the 20s, from childhood, there's a lot of things that have changed, a lot of things that need to be changed, and all the things created a big blob of uh, like worst and bad good thinking. It's kind of like those hodgepodge, you can say, or like it just like became so much coagulated, it doesn't have anything to function by itself. It just always starters, it always gets lagged, it always makes the bad decisions. It's kind of like putting a lot of software into a computer, and you open it up with all the startup apps or all the things to be started at the first when it just opens up, and it just literally makes the computer heated or just like lags and doesn't work that much well. And that's what's happening nowadays. To solve this, we have to go through the neuroscience first. In neuroscience, if I have to talk about the brain, from childhood, when we came to this amazing, beautiful world, we didn't have any thoughts within ourselves. It just blank. We only had the senses. Um, we got it from different senses, five senses, and that created kind of all the things that we wanted to feel, to collect information, observe, and take a decision. For example, if you want to cry, you thought not only, and you haven't thought about hunger. You thought the sensations or senses that you need food, and you took the decision that maybe crying could bring someone who can give food. So after all this, like when the brain has been developed, it's observing, it's seeing different kind of perspective, different kind of situations. Um, it's creating a lot of uh, mind castles, I would say. Mind ethics, many people say, is how our perspective has been built from childhood. For example, think like you are in a stadium and you are watching the cricket or football. So you know like which players has come and which players has gone. But if I ask you what's the color of the shirt that served you a cup of tea in the stadium was, you will not find it because your focus is on the cricketer itself. So that's how our brain is too much distracted nowadays. It focuses on the things that we really want to be focused, or the social media, or the current scenario, or different kind of people that wants to have to be focused on. To solve this, we have to control our senses and emotions, and thinking in logical way with the prefrontal cortex. So prefrontal cortex is the area of the brain where you take decisions logically, and you take decisions on research on reality. But in the later part of the brain, where uh, we have those prelimbic and limbic part of this brain, have those kind of uh, functions where you think about making the outcomes first. So what will happen? What will they think? What they will think? And what are the things that may happen, and something that you don't have any control of, but you have control over the decision that you make right now, the logics and research and reality. So to work on that, you have to pause. That's one of the ways that I personally started doing, and just taking a pause of 90 seconds, because after 90 seconds, the limbic part of the brain just gets shifted to the precortex. So if you wait 90 seconds, then all the things that you've been worrying about, it could be shifted into prefrontal cortex, and you can start thinking much more clear. On top of that, also getting a little bit observant rather than just being in a thinking loop, because when thinking becomes the most important thing you do, um, it's basically like limits your observational power. So for example, you observe, then you think, and then you uh, take a decision. And so if you don't observe your thinking, then your observation power gonna go down. So for example, if I say you 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, and make it a sum, so you will just calculate the numbers. But if I say you 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, how much numbers are there, then you're counting it. So it just whatever I say, you do it because you're thinking on the things that I have said to you. But what happens if I say you 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, and you don't hear what I said, you like sum it or count it. But what do? You observe the numbers. You just don't do anything. You just don't think about it. You just observe. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is a sequel of numbers where one comes after another. There's a operator that just connects them with plus. There's also we can do a lot of things over it. and we can make equation, we can make a sum, we can make many things. So these are the observations, and then you think what they have been said to do. Like, can I count it? Of course. How much numbers are there? Okay, there's this much numbers. There can be sound out. There can be do that in that, and then you take a decision if it's right or not, and then you write the answer. So that's how the thing should be. But in our life, what we do, we think so much that doesn't have that much importance in creating better decisions. For example, if I have to talk to someone, and I just only focus on the thoughts. For example, what will happen if I put this jacket on my body and just go to this lobby in that side of the room and just shake the hands in some sort of way and sit down in that way, and I'll talk about this, and then he or she will be impressed. Then I'm thinking too much rather than observing what she might like. For example, if I observe in certain way to his or him, his or her. There are many kind of point of information. You can observe someone. You can see her from a distance. You can see him from a distance, or you can see him or her beforehand if you have met. Or you can go through many kind of point of information to observe what the things might be better, and then you go forward and think about how to make these things work and take a decision based on it. You can get a better outcome. That's how the thinking loop and thinking cloud works under the sandwich of observation and decision making. Now comes what really matters to be emotional and rational. Many people say always be rational, but the thing is, you cannot delete all the emotions that you have right now. For example, the fear and the anger, all the things that there's emotionally being governed in our brain cannot be deleted. You always feel the harsh things. If someone says bad about you, you'll feel it. If someone says something good about you, you'll feel it. You cannot delete all those things. If you want to delete those things, then you're going against your brain, and sometimes it blows up and it creates more issues. Um, what's the best way to mitigate this situation is um, to trying leveling it in some sort of way, or to understand, asking questions, and taking a pause and feeling it rather than just deleting it. You have to feel all the things that you got. You cannot delete all those things. You have to feel it, but it's not obvious that you have to always show it or always act on it. You have to take a pause. You have to think about what's the right thing to do right now. If I say this, what will happen? And then you take a decision on saying that. You articulate the words, you observe the things, you take a pause, and with your prefrontal cortex, you articulate a perspective, and with context, you say something so that it works. So that's how a rationalization of your emotional well-being works. But there's a catch, because it's a double-edged sword. If you're trying to be too much rational with something, it creates an arrogance. It creates a frame where no one can access you. So it might make you a little bit distant from people, which will make you suffer in terms of getting connected to people who are over emotional. So it will have issues with emotional people not getting that much valued. And for example, we live in a society where there's many type of people from different backgrounds and different kind of scenarios, and I have to act in some sort of way that you don't lose your opportunities just by maintaining something that's just making you happy all the time. Because being happy all the time doesn't mean that like it just be focusing on yourself. Sometimes making people happy on their terms and getting back to you again. It's just kind of a novel thing that all the people, great people in this human civilization has always been done. On top of that, there's the issue of over expectations. Reality is very different to what we see in the social media, or even in very good kind of scenarios, like everything is presented in some ways. Um, a real human has a lot of things that might be unpleasant. For example, a person who can look so beautiful can have very bad way of talking. It's totally normal. Or someone who is so intelligent and doesn't have that much style. That's totally normal. Um, uh, there could be grooming issues. There could be like smell issues sometimes because humans sweat. Um, there could be many things that people always think like it should be done in a certain way, uh, although it doesn't work in that way. Um, and not everything is perfect. So seeking perfection is kind of like making yourself unhappy because you cannot make anyone perfect. It's not in your controllable area. So you're trying to choose something that you don't have anything to do with. So you're just like using your energy, something that doesn't will make you anywhere, any close to anywhere, just like just waste of your energy, right? But what you can do, you can just make yourself better so that people um, notice, or maybe no, not notice, but you just do it because you want it. Right. That's how most of the things creates a lot of synergy in making conversations, communications better. And what happens nowadays, people are so connected. If you even say something 3 minutes earlier, it could be transmitted within a half an hour, and it could create situations where there's multiple people affiliated, and the information that's been processed is distorted, and it creates conflicts. It creates miscommunication, and it creates and destroys relationships of years of years of years, and all these things makes makes this scenario much more dangerous in some sort of way, where personal attack and personal uh, ego just comes into place and destroys um, a friendliness that was not meant to be treated in that way. And all. Buying and selling people's effort has become a kind of the economy that we live right now. We always think like, if someone giving me a lot of effort, it's cheaper, and it just he'll gonna do it, or she'll gonna do it because she can, or he can, because he's just over investing in me, and I don't like it. I just like to be myself. But when you want it, the same thing happens. The other person also does you for the same. And it's because like we don't know how to hold things up. We always been in this generation has been given everything with condition. So, for example, if you do better result this exam, I will give you that. If you wake up in the morning, I will make you the best breakfast, or I will do that because of that. So, whenever someone gives you something for free, you always question it. You always think like there's must be something associated. Of course, most of the time there's some intentions associated, but intentions doesn't mean always bad. There's sometimes good intentions, there's sometimes bad intentions. And if you're a strong male or female, you know what's good intention and bad intention. And that's where boundaries comes up. You have to say it like, you know what, I don't like it. Just don't do it. Okay? That's how normal a set of boundary can be set. In kind of verbal communication, there's many kind of boundaries you can set in physical, mental, in social, whatever. So if you want to get harmed, you will get harmed. And if you don't want to, you will not. And if there's any other way, if that happens, then just, just that could be a different exception. But things are not that shady as it seems like. And world is very changing. You also change. And finding something that works better in the long term always depends on compromises, on the apologies, and um, having patience, reconnecting, and thinking it as something that will not affect the core values, the core connection. It will just like make the surface area much more smoother, just like those sandpapers. This type of understanding is very rare, and people take most of the times personally overthink a lot of stuff because there's a lot of information. And when you have a lot of information, you overthink. That's really normal because you have a lot of things to play around. Limiting information also makes you dumber. So there's a big middle ground has to be put down. I always say those things like You cannot go to the extreme or you cannot go to the lowest extreme. You have to find a middle ground where you're just practicing both, but with gradients that helps each person different and separately. It's kind of being a full-time job, but when you do it in perfectness, your subconscious mind trains on it. So you do it just without any consent. You just don't have to think that much. You just do it. That becomes your character. And there should be careful. People change and people go away from you when you have those changes. And trust me, I tried it most of the times. I tried to be too much emotional. I tried to be too much rational. I tried to be both. Every time you lose people, every time the people gonna hate you. If you being too emotional, the people gonna hate you. If you become too rational, you're gonna hate you. If you become too intelligent and you're just getting a middle ground, even people gonna hate you. So you cannot control that. There's always people gonna hate you. So just to be focused on if your objectives are done and you're not harming anyone, you're morally correct and you're providing to the society, your family, your loved ones, and also not doing anything that creates issues for other people around you. All these things makes your life a little bit better. It's just not like the best in the world that makes happen, but ultimately, that's most of the things that's needed to be created. And one of the things that makes sense nowadays, we create situations where we cannot get out of it. So we have to know how to get out of the situations and make the best out of the information that we see around us to work in better circumstances. So I think there's a lot of things that I've said today, mostly about how to get out of these problems. And I know people talks about it. Everyone thinks that's a very uh, conspiracy or like dark hidden knowledge. You should not talk about it. Just go with the flow and other stuff. But if you've been poisoned like 20 hours a day and you just don't work on it, it becomes something very deadly, and that's what's happening. So I think whoever hearing and who heard got a little bit of value, and if you got the value, of course, just save this podcast. You can comment. It will be posted on if it's posted on YouTube, you can comment. If it's on also Apple Podcast. It's on YouTube Podcast. So and also Spotify. So you can also save and just have marked it down in different kind of chapters that's been gone through. Thank you again for being with Side Corner. I will come up with different kind of topics to talk about. And this is for today. And see you in the next.